Hello, welcome to In the Court of the Wenton King. Yardbirds
Exciting.
Patreon has requested we do 60s invasion bands. After we discovered, what does that mean, 60s invasion? It means different things to different people. It really just means bands like the Beatles who went to America.
I think it just means, doesn't it just mean British bands that were had some success in America?
Yeah. And I thought it was specifically a blues thing.
Yeah, but it's nice. It's like folky stuff and all sorts of stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cilla Black.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Helen Shapiro. So yeah, we've decided Yardbirds, Manfred Mann and the Kinks. Relatively randomly, but kind of there's an element of relevance to their influence later.
Yeah, they're kind of cool bands, aren't they? They're considered cool.
Yeah. So the Yardbirds, having said that, the Yardbirds, they have quite a strange place in the 60s, who they are. It's the working class British kids nicking American black music from 30 years before and not bringing it back. It's psychedelic pop songs. It's also known for like the sort of hugely influential guitar thing with no songs, and it's known for the band that split into Led Zeppelin and Renaissance. It's all those things at once. And if you do a Yardbirds album, I'm pretty sure it's this one. Unless you're Clapton McBoring person, it's got to be this one. 1966. And a lot of the pop in there, it's like The Move or something. So you call it psychedelia. It's the poppy psychedelia. It's songs, and you've got lots of blues adaptations, and bizarre psychedelia. Wobble boards are on there, but you've got the light sort of kids singing vocals. It's that poppy light vocals, and what we now know is a move into European music. That was where the other guys were going, not the guitarists. That's the direction I hear, not Led Zeppelin. So all of those things are on this album, actually. That's just bizarre. The poppiness, it always, for me, felt kind of weirdly underdeveloped. I always think, oh, this is a great song. I like this song. But most of the songs, I think, are they really good songwriters? Some of it feels a bit unfinished, and yet you've got Over Under Sideways Down. It's awesome, and it's a world away from those blues adaptations that are on there as well. Cleverly, Spotify and Amazon, they've got some track list which has a different song order, and I was trying to figure it out, and I realised all it is, track 1 and 2 aren't on the album. They're new. They've been added on later, which is strange because it really makes it work as an album, I think. Might be slightly too long though, but I wouldn't take those first two. Say again.
The one I've got's got 31 tracks on it.
Yeah, there you go, and it carries on after all those songs have been on. More songs as well, and the mono version and the stereo version. Yeah. So I think it is too long. 35 minutes was the original length, which was right, but I wouldn't take away those first two songs. I'd take off some of the other stuff. There you go.
Just completely remake the album.
Yeah, the right is wrong, so I would change it. Wrong.
So, I mean, they're supposed to be quite cool. Well, they are quite cool, aren't they? There's like a mythological thing about the Yardbirds.
Yes, they are the cool one. Yeah. Because
of the people that were involved and, what they went on to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think with the person who sort of recommended the invasion bands was sort of saying how it relates to prog and how it sort of laid the ground for prog.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been thinking about that really.
Yeah.
Because it's very difficult to draw a straight line between this and prog rock.
Oh yeah.
I think it's more to do with the attitude. It's sort of like, it's going out there, finding some type of music, which at this point was blues, and you got to remember, at some point, blues was new. And we've had like 50, 60 years of it now.
Well, it wasn't that old then. That's the weird thing, isn't it?
Yeah, this was quite, blues was sort of quite interesting and hip and down with the kids sort of thing. And I think there's probably a little bit of that attitude sort of bled into right way. If you can take sort of like Delta music or music from America, I'm not allowed to say sort of like it's black people's music.
That's what they call it. Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, it is black music.
It is.
American black music.
Okay, American black. It's Mobo.
It is Mobo.
Yeah.
It's the
original
original
Mobo.
and true Mobo.
Yeah.
Mobo.
I suppose you can look at it and say, well, you're taking this music that doesn't actually belong to you. Is it cultural appropriation, Kev?
Probably.
I've never really thought of it like that.
I don't understand that at all. So I don't know.
And turn it into something which is quite successful. I remember B.B. King saying big debt of gratitude to bands like the Stones and that for popularising,
bringing it back.
Bringing it back and popularising it amongst a more affluent audience.
The kids,
let's say, yeah. So maybe there's something about that attitude of going out there, finding something different, different culture, and using that to make popular records.
Yeah.
And some people would say, well, I'm not, what else can I find? Because don't forget, these guys really did quite well off the back of it.
Yeah.
So is there something else out there that I can incorporate into my music and be at the forefront of something? And that could have been the start of prog. Plus the sort of the psychedelic thing. There is a loose connection between psychedelia and prog.
Yeah.
Because prog can sound weird, and psychedelia sounds weird. So therefore, there is a link, and there is a definite psychedelic side to this, as you say.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's only wobble boards. But yeah, that's it really. In terms of an album to listen to, I found it really boring.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, but I had it on while I was cooking. It's a cooking album.
But I put it on while I was making scones.
Oh.
And I had it on the headphones when I was out in the garden raking leaves, and I had it on while I was working, and I don't know, it sounds like the Yardbirds. I immediately identified that's the Yardbirds, yeah?
Yeah,
I know,
sounds like the Yardbirds.
Yeah. But I mean, that's not always a bad thing. You think Deep Purple, they're Deep Purpling now, which can be a good thing.
Yeah, and you can be Yardbirding.
It gets a bit, yeah, but I mean, Deep Purpling, it gets boring after a couple of hours. This gets boring after a couple of songs. I thought.
Well, there's kind of 3 types of song, isn't there? So you need 3 songs.
Yeah.
You don't need to that.
Actually, I mean, you're. I know it's like one of those things that I say often, but you're obviously a guitarist, and this is quite a revered band for guitarists. Mm-hmm. So there's obviously more for you to listen to than just the notes and the song, and the lyrics, and everything else.
Yeah.
But I found focusing on that, I found it quite boring. But obviously this was a different time, and we're coming after a very sort of like
conservatism.
Conservatism. That's the word I'm thinking. Very sort of almost a delicacy in people's sort of
sensibility,
attitude. Yeah. Sensibility. Yeah, that's a good word. Sensibility. It's a Mark Kermode word, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and this could be quite out there in that thing.
In that context,
we're not there now.
Yes.
Unfortunately,
it's an artifact from the past. Yeah. People, they're in suits. They're all. You can hear the suits in the music. It's still there. The suits are still there. They're singing very politely.
Yeah.
But like I said, the bit that struck me was the proggy thing, not the Led Zeppelin thing, and not the guitar-y thing. Because I know them, But
I couldn't draw a line between this and Led Zeppelin at all.
No, other than just blues. But this is. Yeah. Didn't we? I don't know if we did it on camera, but we did talk about Fleetwood Mac in the last few weeks. About there's an authenticity with Fleetwood Mac for some reason. Yeah. I don't know why. This isn't. This is very, very plastic blues, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's kids playing blues because they like blues band. Let's just nick, Bo Diddley's thing and pretend we wrote it.
Yeah.
But it's not that. It's the other bit. You know, Over Under Sideways Down is that perfect the silly juxtaposition, which is so funny. When will it end? And the you know. But that bit there is that's the Renaissance music. It seems superficial, but it's definitely that's what they're actually thinking of. Is European music, and that's where they were going. The writers in the band, that's where they went. The people actually writing, the guitarists, were they writing? They were writing riffs and noises and solos, but they couldn't really write songs. Now, I mean, it's weird that Jimmy Page appeared just after this album. I've got a feeling Jimmy Page was hovering at the making of this album. I can't remember now. But I mean, Jimmy Page, there was no indication that he could write really until considerably later. Strangely, it turns out he can. Where that came from, and he wasn't, But it's kind of Chris Dredger and Paul Samuel Smith and what's his name, McCarthy, not McCarthy. Apparently, he will get misprints on the albums, call him McCarthy instead of McCarthy. I don't know what he thought of that. And that's really interesting. That that you can hear the pop, the psychedelia, and actually they're listening to something else in the background. It is there, and I think that's really interesting. But that's the single, Over Under Sideways Down. That's what I'm really talking about. That's the single. It seems they're really good at writing singles, but rubbish at making albums.
Yeah,
I think that's the problem.
I mean, but were there many bands that actually write in what you would call an album?
Well, that's
in
the thing.
1966.
Exactly, not many. I mean, that was a very new thing.
Yeah.
And most people didn't know that was a thing until a year later. Keith Relf is the singer. Now, here's the thing. Nazz Are Blue. I think we're in a rush right now, so we're not going to do this. But normally I would say let's listen to a bit of that and listen to a bit of another song. Which is the better singer? Jeff Beck sings Nazz Are Blue, and it's better than Keith Relf singing. But it's not like a pop singer. He's doing the bluesy, shouty thing. And Keith Relf does do the pop singing, which would be appropriated. There you go, cultural appropriation by middle-class kids in the 90s. He's not a very good singer. He's just not a very good singer. I'm sorry. I know he died and stuff. But, everyone talks about, when I met Keith Relf and he had his inhaler, and that, I think that limits the music. Actually, I think that's part of the problem, is they can only do those pop things because he can only sing like that, So yeah, when it's good, it's great. There's some interesting guitar noises on there, but the songwriting is a problem. I think Jeff Beck has actually. He actually said they were underqualified in the songwriting department and overqualified in the guitar department. They actually that's the problem.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Even though there's some really cool things they've come up with, the songs feel unfinished. I think they need someone an arranger kind of person to, sort it.
I think my listening of it is sort of hampered by the fact that I associate the Yardbirds with Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Simply because it's part of the film soundtrack. And that is obviously an awesome book, an awesome film. It's like the pinnacle of American culture. Mm-hmm. And this isn't. So I think there's a mismatch in my expectations, sort of thing.
Mm. Yeah, there's something fundamentally plastic about the Yardbirds, which is supposed to be there, kind of. It is named after the engineer, because the engineer's name is Roger. Yeah. And the cover is actually Chris Dredger's drawing. It's like a stupid Goons-esque, like John Lennon's drawings. It's like that stuff. But they didn't use it in the US. They needed a teeny bop cover of them in the US, so it's them rolling around on the floor or something. We talk about it being generic, but early Spinal Tap, not really early Spinal. The early Spinal Tap records, they're just copying. They sound like the Yardbirds. So you've got like a, what's it called? Give me some money, which is the R&B bluesy whatever it is, and then you've got Listen to the Flower People, which is the psychedelic.
Yeah.
It's just sounding like the Yardbirds, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. So very hard to egg. I'm thinking three. I'm thinking 3 or 4. But I think it's a 3-egg album, really.
Yeah,
a couple of really nice bits, but and there's too much of it. It isn't good enough to have that much of it.
Yeah.
But there's nice. They're a singles band. That's what it is, isn't it?
You can almost imagine actually that other bands were into the Yardbirds.
Yeah.
And it was like a bit of a muso thing to be into the Yardbirds.
It was. Now the Yardbirds. Well, it's all those bands that came out of it. It's those 3 guitarists who lived within a few miles of each other. And it's really strange. Yeah. But at the time, they were the cool one. It was actually at one point Beatles, Stones, and Yardbirds. Yardbirds were like the cool underground. Yeah, but I like the Yardbirds. Which band do you like? I like the cool one you haven't even heard of.
Yeah, the Beatles are okay, but I'm into the Yardbirds.
Yeah. And then, which now seems ridiculous because the songs aren't good enough.
Why don't we ever talk about the Rolling Stones, Kev?
The Stones.
I mean, they were they're massive. I mean, they're Beatles number 1, Stones number 2.
Yeah, but it's very much not prog. And we'd have to do the accents again, and that would take preparation. I'd have to figure that out how to do that.
Stones,
I can't do it,
man.
Stones. I can't do it. So it's not a thing.